We are the Guinea Pig Collective. All will be assimilated. Resistance is futile.
Searching for old treasures, blowing off the dust. Timeless stories and legendary characters. This is Talking Movies. Hey everybody, what's going on? And welcome back to another Talking Movies. So on today's Talking Movies, we will be talking about characters written by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, screenplay written by Todd W. Langdon, Bobby Herbeck, and directed by Steve Barron, 1990s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The list of some of the cast of actors included Judith Hoag as April O'Neil, Elias Koteas as Casey Jones, Josh Pace as the voice for Raphael and the passenger in the cab, David Foreman as Leonardo and a gang member, Brian Tochi as the voice for Leonardo, Leif Tilden as Donatello and a foot messenger, Corey Feldman as the voice of Donatello, Mikhail Sisti as Michelangelo and the Pizza Man, Robbie Rist as the voice of Michelangelo, Kevin Clash as the voice for Splinter, James Saito as the Shredder, David McCarran as the Shredder and the voice for Oroko Saki, and as always, a whole host of other people who filled out the other roles in this film. Based off the extremely popular toy line and the comics that preceded it, this movie was cashing in on the rise and the popularity of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles at the time. Mark Friedman, who helped make the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles toy line happen, was also very adamant that this movie should have taken place, but he wanted it to have taken place sooner than it actually did. He was a firm believer that because it was so hot at the time that they needed to cash in on it at every opportunity, and this meant pushing a movie which would have further generated more toy sales. Either way, it did eventually happen and it became a cult phenomenon. This movie was actually the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie that came out and was well received by the fans. The subsequent sequels in the series, however, were not looked upon as favorably. So obviously, being based off the cartoon, the toys, and the original comic book, the story for this movie is pretty straightforward and pretty simple. Through contact with a mysterious ooze, 4 turtles in the sewers of New York mutate into intelligent, pizza-loving humanoids, and are mentored in the art of ninja combat by the wise rat Splinter. When the evil Shredder attempts to take over the world, the turtles set out to stop him. Now, this movie was actually independently made, and this was the highest grossing independent film of all time, having made $135 million in domestic box office and $66 million in the foreign box office. And of course, as stated in the list of people that were in this movie, the actors who physically portrayed the Turtles also had cameo roles in the film, such as Josh Paris, who plays Raphael. He also plays a passenger in the back of a taxi cab right after Raphael hops on the cab's hood. Robin Williams, who was a big fan of the franchise, provided Judith Hoag with information regarding her character through his comic book collection. The two were co-starring in Cadillac Man in 1990 when the Turtles film went into production. However, Judith Hoag was not asked to reprise her role as April in the film's sequels due to her own personal complaining, particularly about the 6-day schedule and the amount of violence that was in the film. And originally, Steve Barron wished to replicate April O'Neil's jumpsuit look from the early Mirage comics and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1987 cartoon. The look was going to more closely resemble the cartoon with a yellow-colored jumpsuit and a big head of red hair, as opposed to a green jumpsuit and brown hair. However, Judith Hoag found the jumpsuit horrifying, and the idea was nixed. The yellow raincoat April wears in the beginning of the movie is in homage to the yellow jumpsuit she wears in the 1987 cartoon. Now, Brian Toshi, the voice of Leonardo, and Robbie Rist, the voice of Michelangelo, are the only actors who appeared in all 3 live-action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies. Now, of course, we all know that the Turtles' home base is in New York, and the film was supposed to be set in New York. But actually, much of the filming took place in North Carolina, with only a couple of location shoots done in New York City to capture famous landmarks. And there's always somebody that's offended, so apparently Jim Henson, whose workshop provided the movie's turtle costumes, was reportedly upset about the level of violence in the finished movie. While he was proud to have helped advance the art of animatronics, he viewed the violence as excessive, pointless, and not his style. However, as Steve Barron had directed the pilot episode of The Storyteller 1987, which set the tone for the entire series, Henson agreed to do it as sort of a favor to Barron. And Josh Paris as Raphael is the only actor who physically portrays and voices the same turtle. And for a funny little side note, all 3 newswomen seen or mentioned in the film are named after a month: April, May, and June. And this was the last theatrical film that Jim Henson was associated with. He died about a month and a half after the film's release. And according to Josh Paris on the podcast I Was There Too, the director Steve Barron was fired near the end of production as the producers thought the film would become too dark. It is uncertain how different the film would have been if he had final cut. And as a nod to the original creators of the Turtles, toward the end of the movie, one of the street punks tells the police chief to check out the East Warehouse over on Lairdman Island. The creators of the Ninja Turtles were Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird. However, the original script stated that the warehouse was on the corner of Lairdman and East, also a play on the creators' names. And unfortunately for Josh Paris, who plays Raphael, he suffers from claustrophobia. So after filming Raphael's scenes, he would have to take the helmet off very quickly. In the original trailer, there is a shot of the turtles rising up from what looks like a swamp. The shot was cut from the final release, but is part of a longer scene that was later used near the end of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze in 1991. And the movie portrays Hamato Yoshi as Splinter's master/owner, and Splinter learnt his ninja skills through observing and mimicking him. This is true to the original TMNT comics, but was the first time this version of Splinter's origin was seen, because in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 1987, which was the first ever adaptation of the TMNT franchise, Master Splinter is Hamato Yoshi and became a rat after being exposed to mutagen. And maybe you noticed this, or maybe you just didn't. All of the shirts that Danny wears in the film have a picture of Sex Pistols bassist Sid Vicious on them. Johnny Depp, Keanu Reeves, Christian Slater, Lou Diamond Phillips, Emilio Estevez, Kiefer Sutherland, Jason Patrick, Brian Austin Green, Alex Winter, Gary Daniels, and River Phoenix were all considered for the role of Casey Jones. And this one I find kind of funny. Pizza Hut engaged in a $20 million marketing campaign tied into the film, despite the fact that Domino's Pizza was used as a product placement in the film itself. And when getting this movie started, Mark Friedman knew it would have to offer a significantly different experience from the Fred Wolf produced animated TV show. Therefore, this is why an effort was made to make this movie stay as close as possible to the vision co-creators Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird presented in their original comic book series. Now, the movie's budget was just over $13 million, roughly 1/3 of what Batman from 1989 had cost. And in the beginning sewer scene, a Domino's Noid toy can be seen in the water.
Noid hates hot quality pizza. He loves to make your hot pizza ice cold.
And finally, believe it or not, Nicole Kidman was among those considered to play the role of April O'Neil. In the original cut of the scene when Raphael exits the movie theater, he says "cool car, stupid costume" in reference to Batman 1989, which was still in theaters at the time of filming. So before we end this, we're just going to talk about a few of the goofs. Several times throughout the film, Donatello uses Raphael's voice instead of using his own, like when he is punched or kicked by a Foot Clan member. In the beginning, when the Turtles are shouting various phrases after their first battle, Donatello yells off-screen Bossa Nova, but on-screen, Leonardo's lips move. Michelangelo screams Splinter's name while standing on top of the barn, but does it in Raphael's voice. Look closer for the nunchucks on his belt as proof that it's actually Mikey. And in one scene, April O'Neil's answering machine still works, despite the power to her apartment being cut by the Foot Clan. Anyway, guys, that's all I have on this one. Do you remember this movie? Did you see this movie? Are you planning on watching this movie?
Oops.
The city itself will be our playground to use as we please. There is a new enemy, freaks of nature.
We've been looking for you, Miss O'Neill.
What the heck was that?
Looked like sort of a big turtle in a trench coat.
Awesome! Yeah! I love being a turtle!
Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And as always, my friends, thank you for being here. And if you've enjoyed yourself, go ahead and destroy that like button for me. And if you are new to the channel, welcome. I am glad that you are here. I hope that you've enjoyed yourself, and I hope you will consider subscribing. And I will catch you all next time. Later, y'all.